Welcome to Beyond the Brand, the podcast that takes you inside the world of franchising, brought to you by Business Alliance Incorporated. We're here to share real stories, expert insights, and strategies to help you navigate the franchise industry with confidence. Let's dive in.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of BAI's Beyond the Brand with highlighting one of our franchise partners, a longtime franchise partner, Jantize America, and their very unique master franchise model. And today I'm joined by North Carolina master franchisee with the Piedmont Triad, as was earlier explained to me, territory in North Carolina, Bobby Quintero, who's been a franchisee since 2022. So we'll be hearing his story, his journey to Jantize, and what a day in the life of a Jantize master franchisee looks like. So Bobby, first off, thank you for your time today. Appreciate you joining me and sharing a little bit of your story with us.
My pleasure.
Excellent. So I like to just dive right in and get to know you a little more. So if we could start off by talking about your background prior to the franchise world, what professional pipeline you came up through.
Yeah, sure. I do live in North Carolina now, but I'm originally from Texas.
Okay.
And my family dates back almost well over 5 generations, so almost back to the Alamo. So we were Texans for a long time. Born and raised, and growing up, I'd always wanted to be in the restaurant business. I had a godfather there that owned a bunch of Italian food restaurants, and I enjoyed being around it.
Okay.
So that's what I went to college for. I went to Texas Tech. I got my undergraduate and master's of science, but all geared upon opening a restaurant when I'm done.
Yeah.
So I did go in the restaurant business. I had a very good career. At one time, I was partner in 14 restaurants. And then 2009 hit, 2008, and it was just not a very good time to be in the restaurant business anymore.
Yeah.
So I was able to get out of that. From that point, I went to my next door neighbor owns one of the biggest truck dealers on the East Coast. And I was like, I need a job like now. I'm selling the restaurants, something temporary maybe until then.
Yeah.
And then it turns out I was really good at truck sales, enjoyed that, and stayed in truck sales and finance for the next decade.
Okay.
And then COVID hit and just destroyed the industry again. We had a good run for a while because we did have so many trucks on inventory, but after that, it just got to where it's hard to sell something when you have nothing to sell.
Yeah.
So that's when I started looking around and came across this company called Jantize America. I met Paul Dorsey. He hired me on just to be an area sales developer, building sales, getting a feel for what the concept was. And then I guess it was 8 months later, to almost a year, I wound up buying the master franchise from Paul and never looked back. I've more than doubled our business in the last year. The first 6 months to a year was just getting a feel for what's going on, establishing the business and getting to know my franchisors better.
Yeah.
And then we've just been exploding ever since.
It's great.
And a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And your experience in restaurant industry and trucking, did those kind of, I guess, the different recessions that hit, and then you saw the vulnerability of those industries, did that change your mind on what type of business you wanted to go into next? Did you have something in mind based on that?
Absolutely. That was a huge factor.
Yeah.
I was tired of having to invest well over $1 million of my money in a restaurant.
Yeah.
That I would be happy to flow through 4% of profit at the end of it because the labor, the food cost, and everything would just eat you alive. It's literally almost the mirror opposite with Jantize America.
Yeah.
I don't have any of the overhead. All of my business is really relationship based and envelopes or file cabinets full of contracts.
Yeah.
We just facilitate a service that no one else wants to do. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not having to buy all the equipment. I invest in some equipment with my partners, the area franchises that will buy equipment to do strip and waxes because it's just straight money. I'll help them out a little bit with that, but it's a one-off that I get my return on investment within the same month.
Yeah. And what was it about Jantize in those early days that really drew you to the brand? What caught your eye about Jantize in particular?
One, I do have experience in my life doing door-to-door sales, business-to-business sales. I did a lot of that in the restaurant business, just drumming up caterings.
Yeah.
I did a lot of that with truck sales, heavy duty truck sales, or doing business to business sales calls. It's not a hard sell. 8 to 9 times out of 10, at least, it's not even their money.
Yeah.
And they don't want to clean the toilets. And if you hit them in the morning after they just had to because they can't find anybody to do it, and their janitor just quit again,
Yeah.
perfect time.
Yeah.
They're more than happy to sit down and talk to you. And a lot of times we can save them money. That's the easiest sell. It's an easy sell.
Yeah.
And then I have the people that fortunately I'm blessed with. I have 17 area franchise operators, and they take care of the labor, and they fortunately have the resources and the network to staff it. They just may not have the ability to run the company side.
Right.
They're not going to be able to walk into that executive office and close the deal. Maybe they could, but more than likely they can. So they appreciate the fact I bring them the account, I give them the account.
Yeah.
They then just staff it, and we take care of all of their billing or collections and do the paperwork side, and they just get a check on the 1st and the 15th of every month. It's a great gig. It's a win-win for everybody. That's what draws me to Jantize America, is everybody is syndicately related to where nobody's over the other person. It's not like corporate and Paul and down there at the Charlotte Motor Speedway or pulling our chains up here. They're making money off of what I'm doing. And we're all making money off of what the operator is doing in the operation. So none of us can survive without the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and that transitions nicely into, I think, really important thing to highlight with your role as a master franchisee. Can you kind of walk me through what each of your roles and responsibilities are to the single unit franchisees and in your responsibility with your own business as well?
Yes. As a master franchise, my job, using that same triangle relationship there, is to communicate between corporate, if there's a billing question, and the franchisor. We have so many up and down the Eastern Seaboard, we would have to have an entire staff of people that I help triage some of those questions.
Yeah.
Most of the time I have the answer. If not, we'll send out an email. It's an accounting question, and then we always get a response back immediately. It's great.
Yeah.
But I do help facilitate those relationships as well as with the customer. Because sometimes my job is to also match personality types with the boots on the ground with the customer. There are accounts that you're walking in with shovels, picking up the trash and throwing them into huge bins. Other ones you're sitting around with white gloves, polishing doorknobs in an executive's office. So I match those personalities. If the personalities don't match, then for the customer side, I'll give another opportunity to another franchise until everything's perfectly fit.
Okay.
And then I follow up with that customer to make sure they're happy. I am the face of it. I'm the one who owns the contract, but I need everyone's help in order to get it done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then I drive sales. I'm the one who would hire salesmen, pay for leads, and grow the business here to try it. Selling the franchises, training the new franchisees, because they're a representation of us. So I enjoy spending that time and doing a lot of training, making sure that it's a successful launch. Because it really is, as far as the franchisees, one of the easiest businesses they'll ever be able to set up in their lives. I've backpacked around the world twice. I can tell you, I've never seen a business easier to set up than this.
Yeah.
You could go to Walmart, spend $250 and have all the equipment you would need, but most of our customers supply all that anyways. So all you really have to do is show up and start making money.
Yeah.
We help them set up their corporation, it's their state taxes, and then they take it from there.
Yeah. And once they're up and running as for the unit franchisees, beyond securing those contracts and matching them up with the right clients, what's the other levels of support you're typically providing those unit franchisees on a daily basis?
Yeah, so a lot of times it is helping them with staffing leads, because people do apply just through the Jantize website. I may call, do a quick interview. I also help them because I don't personally do a lot as the area developer. Some area developers do, I do not. But I let my franchise operators like deal in paper supplies. Okay. Paper towels, toilet paper dispensers. For me, the margin's just not worth my time, but for them, it could be, and sometimes it is for surgical centers and stuff like that. So I'll help them by from my days in the restaurant business, I have all those connections. I'll introduce them to Southeastern Paper and say, hey, let's get them set up there and just give them that guidance that 25 years in the restaurant business will teach you and give you those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always, when I talk to our brokers about who's the right fit for the master franchise role, the first thing that comes to mind is the ability to wear a lot of hats, because you're, like you said, you're recruiting, you're training, you're providing that ongoing support, you're doing outside sales. So what skills from your previous experience in trucking and the restaurant business, what do you think really translated over the best that helped you in this new role as a master franchisee?
The one that transferred the most, the sales were great.
Right.
They taught me how to be a better closer and to see finance numbers, but I wouldn't say that a truck salesman's your ideal candidate. In fact, I would lean towards saying they're not. But the restaurant business absolutely gave me the tools that I need, because you have to wear, as an owner operator, especially, you have to wear many hats. You have to know, you have to have an idea about plumbing if that customer's calling it. Just that moment of truth, you can answer that question. Mop many floors from Mallorca, Spain to Maui, Hawaii. Like I have a feel. I know how long it's going to take because I've done it. But then you also do the payroll side. You do the budget forecasting side. Everything is a jack of all trades kind of business like that. Anybody who's owned a business before, especially one that had thinner margins, retail stores, if they owned like a retail store. A small business owner, I think that does tie it up. I've never thought of it like that, but it's true. Small business owner that is used to managing business with low margins.
Okay.
Because they're going to love the margin, and the margin is what they're going to.
Yeah. How long into your role as a master franchisee did the numbers start to really impress you? How quickly did that? You said the first 6 months or so was really figuring it out.
My situation was a little unique because it was an established area 3 or 4 years prior to me joining.
Okay.
So that was a little different, because for me, I started seeing a profit almost on day one, pretty much on day one.
Okay.
And then it just started exponentially going up. I would say the ramp up would be 6 months to see a noticeable difference. Within a year, it's significant.
Okay.
But the big thing is that income. It's not like some other franchise for garage door masters or a floor shield or something like that, that if you have a couple of good backbreaking months, and I'm not talking bad about the companies, but you understand what I mean. Yeah. They're one-off deals.
Right.
Based on a referral, you can get another one. So that defining differential between a great month and famine is the click of a calendar day.
Yeah.
You have to re-ramp and restart and really pump a pipeline. For us, it's residual.
Recurring. Yeah.
It's every month, as long as I'm doing my job of keeping those 3 people all happy together.
Yep.
Then you're getting that money every month.
Yeah.
And we have contracts and government contracts and big corporation contracts that I know we're going to fulfill ours. And it's just, so, every month within about, I would say a 15 to 20% margin about exactly how much you're going to make. And that just comes from the length of the month versus payable times to how fast the mail moves.
Right. Yeah. How many single unit franchisees do you currently have under you? I know that's a bad term because you said everything's pretty unilateral, but just how many have you brought on board? And
17 in my area.
17? Okay.
Yes. And I have one of the newer ones. You got somebody down like Robert, he's well over 100.
Wow.
For me in my market, and the way that we're building it though, it is better. It's not as much for the volume size for me as it is just have the operators that can handle a $10,000 account, because those are the accounts that I'm bringing in.
Quality over.
So as far as volume numbers, but I don't have a problem selling franchises. I award them. I hit refresh. I get anywhere between, on a low end 30 to a high end 75 a month with people inquiring to buy it from us.
Is that majority?
There's a triage factor in there. A lot of it's
bad leads.
Yeah. I would say that there's at least 3 to 5 very solid leads, and then I would choose on average myself maybe one a month.
Okay.
One every 45 days is my goal. Like I already know who my next 2 are.
That's good. That's
They're in the
exciting.
pipeline. It's been a working process of, okay, I can start you here because that's when I can give you the time for you to be successful. So
Okay.
once again, that's what I do as a master franchise.
And for the franchisee recruiting, is that largely digital where you find most
I mean,
of
it's
the
all digital,
Okay.
other than word of mouth from current franchisees.
Okay. Great. And kind of reverse of one of my previous questions, your skills that translate over best. What did you have the biggest learning curve with? What did you need the most support from Paul and corporate with as you were learning the industry?
There wasn't a ton, but Paul was a great business coach in the beginning, constant communication all the time, just making sure that I'm staying on the things that I had known, but prospecting, keeping a pipeline. But the things he did help were a good sounding board on, and this was a huge help, was how to utilize your corporation better
Okay.
in an S corp.
Okay. The
And how to
structure.
make that system really work for you with this
Mhm.
model, because I didn't have the overhead expenses and I did have margins that I had to worry about just giving to the government for the first time, really. And a lifelong, they say successful career, I actually have to manage profits.
Yeah.
So that was good advice that he offered there.
Okay. Good. And then your business now, month in, month out, how many different revenue streams can you rely on that are recurring on any given month?
The four for sure. I know that I'm going to be getting our royalties, our administration fees, the building protection plan, because a lot of them don't want to carry their own. So I have a policy, an umbrella policy for us all.
Okay.
And then marketing, the marketing fee. Now that does fluctuate a little bit, but nothing significant, because most of the marketing fees are structured out over the course of 24 to 36 months for them to pay back an interest-free loan. So as one drops off, another one adds on, but it's very consistent. It's very consistent.
Okay. And if you put yourself in the shoes of one of our franchise consultants for a second, and you're in these shoes a lot actually as a master franchisee, but if you're proposing the master franchise opportunity to a client you're working with, what would be your 3 or 4 highlights, 30-second pitch on the Jantize master franchise opportunity to a potential new franchisee?
The bullet points that I would hit first is that residual income.
Mm-hmm.
Second would be a very small financial commitment up front. Third would be a proven track record of success.
Yeah.
We don't have a whole lot of turnovers in the world of area developers at Jantize America.
Yeah.
They'll sell them and then they'll regret it, but yeah, we don't have a lot of that. So yeah, the proven recipe that it's going to work. The ability and the autonomy to be able to make your own decisions. You're not tethered like you are in a licensing agreement where somebody's vaguely pulling your strings on something that is the important factor for them that quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And just the ability, this is, I think the biggest thing is, and that's what I always really wanted in the career I was looking for, was I bet on myself. If things aren't going right, I have no one to blame but me. And that's the way I want it. If sales are down, go close more deals.
Yeah.
If you need to get more work or the workload's getting too heavy on the new accounts, go sell a franchise. If you're not making what you should have made that month, get on the phone and ask them whether they can pay their bill. I can control it all.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about this business is, and that's what I like about it, for us, the worse the economy gets, the busier we're going to get.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's what happens because they're cutting labor because they don't have to pay the payroll tax, the unemployment insurance, the scheduling, the supervisor to draw the schedule to clean the building. They can just farm it out to us. So in many instances, I'm saving them as much as 20% a month.
Yeah.
For the same, better service, and they don't have to deal with it ever again.
Yeah. And I'd imagine for you being in different industries at the wrong time, you have a better sense of security being in Jantize now, even as there's chatter of the economic instability and things going on right now. You feel pretty safe in where you're at because of the business that Jantize operates in, right?
I do. Safe is such a relative term, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I do. because I'm not leveraged to the hilt like you would be if you had several restaurants,
Right. Yeah.
several car dealerships. You have floor plans. You have a lot of liability.
Yeah. Perfect. And just to give listeners an idea of where your business is at 2.5 years, can you give us just a ballpark number, like what you did in revenue last year, what your goal is looking ahead?
I'm not sure how specific I can get in that. I do
Yeah,
have,
as much as you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm just saying what I'm allowed to. I'd have to get with Paul before I could get exact specifics. They do fully disclose all of these documents, but I'm not sure on an open forum exactly how much he would want. But I can tell you that I do very well. I can tell you that as an operator, you could do the math on it. I sold Ram trucks and I was in what's called Alpha Ram, which means I was in the top 100 in the nation. It's the world of Stellantis. They rank on 18,000. I was in the top 100 every year. Cracked the top 20 once. I double my income from what one of the world's highest volume truck salesmen does. So I'm not a trillionaire, but I do really well with it.
Yeah.
And I have it's consistent income.
Yeah.
Relative to the investments, you can do the math on that. You should have your money paid off within 2 years.
That's great.
And
that's with 17 franchisees.
It's a very good salary, but I can tell you, I can say this: of the 17 area franchise operators that I have, 5 to, as of now in this next quarter, 6 of them all make well into 6 figures. 125,000 is the lower end.
Yeah.
And some layering up to 200,000. That's not bad for a $2,900 investment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's got to be kind of.
And they own the contract. I own the contracts, but they own their contract in mine as long as they don't mess it up. Right. So they bought themselves $100,000 a year salary for a total finance cost of about $7,500.
And that's got to be fulfilling for you too.
It is.
To help these people get to that entrepreneurial dream.
Yes. Inadvertently, I employ almost 700. Varies between. I get rough numbers between 500 to 700 employees in the people on track. I only deal with about 30 of those. I don't know the rest of them. I value them, I think, but I don't have to mess with them. But their payroll, that's not my concern.
Yeah.
My concern are those 30, which is great because it means my phone doesn't ring all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And what's your goal for the next 2-5 years? Do you have a number of franchisees you want to be providing support to and bringing on board, or?
Within the next 2 years, I want to be at $150,000 a month reoccurring business. So a monthly business. Very attainable, kind of a softball on that one. But my son is finishing his last year at Wilmington. And he started off in finance. And since he's seen the way the business grows here, he would be an idiot to do anything else. So he'll help with the development side. There, and I will help him. And it's a business now that I can pass off as a legacy.
Yeah.
He'll be able to come straight out of school, maintain relationships, which he's already helped me in summer internships. He already has his own little decent book of business that he's helping manage. He'll make a base of 75, easy enough to be 125 straight out of college with no boss.
Take that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's reoccurring.
Yep.
Yeah, you talk about another great thing is something you can build to pass on.
100%. That's what it's all
about.
Without
a bunch of liability headache.
Yeah.
It's all just, I could sell my area tomorrow. I wouldn't sell it. But if somebody did want to buy it, I wouldn't even ascertain the idea for anything less than at least 2.5 million.
Yeah.
Would be the minimum cash, no finance.
Yeah.
So that should tell you the value of what I think it is.
Yep. That's quite the asset. That's what it's all about too. Having something to pass along. So this has been incredible, Bobby. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for sharing your story, and wishing you all the best and continued growth for your territories there with Jantize. But I appreciate the time very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right.
That's a wrap on this episode of Beyond the Brand, brought to you by Business Alliance Incorporated. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more insights on franchising success. Until next time.